Hello, Oscar. Grandpa here. Grandpa and, of course, Moosey. Say hello to Oscar, Moosey. Hello, Oscar. Hope you're well and having fun. Well, of course we do. We all hope that little Oscar and Annabelle or big Oscar and little Annabelle and Mummy and Daddy are having a lovely time, don't we? Yeah, we do. Anyway, how about a bit more reading? Hope you're well, Oscar. Apologies for calling the holiday you had last Monday Canada Day when it's actually Victoria Day. But there we go. Hope you enjoyed it. We're going to read a little bit more from How to Train Your Dragon. And if you remember, Hiccup had been sent by Stoik, his dad, to sort out this great big ginormous dragon. So he could see the dragon motivation page in the book he had, couldn't he? He had written in his mind's eye, gratitude. Dragons are never grateful. Fear, clearly hopeless. Greed, not a good idea to appeal to at this particular point in time. Vanity and revenge could be useful, but he couldn't quite think how. That left jokes and riddling talk. This dragon looked a bit exalted for jokes, but from his manner of talking he clearly fancied himself as a bit of a philosopher. Maybe Hiccup could buy himself some time if he engaged him in a riddling conversation. "I've heard of singing for your supper," said Hiccup. "But what is a singing supper?" "A good question," said the dragon in surprise. An excellent question, in fact. He drew back his claws and Hiccup sighed with relief. It's a long time since the supper has shown such intelligence. They're generally too bound up with their titchy little lives to bother with the really big questions. "Now let me think," said the dragon. And as he thought, he forked a protesting sheep on the end of a talon, then chewed on it reflectively. Ugh, horrible, Oscar. Hiccup was sorry for the sheep, but deeply grateful that it wasn't him disappearing down the ravenous reptilian gullet. Ugh. How shall I put it to a brain so much smaller and less clever than mine? The thing is, the dragon said, we are all, in a sense, supper. Walking, talking, breathing suppers, that's what we are. Take you, for instance. You are about to be eaten, by me, so that makes you supper. That's obvious. But even a murderous carnivore like myself will be a supper for worms one day. We're all snatching precious moments from the peaceful jaws of time, said the dragon cheerfully. That's why it's so important, he continued, for the supper to sing as beautifully as it can. He gestured to his stomach from where the voice could still be heard singing, though more and more faintly. Humans can be bland, but if you have some salt to hand and a little bit of brine, will make them taste divine. That particular supper, said the dragon, that you hear singing now, was a dragon rather smaller than me, but very full of himself. I ate him about half an hour ago. Isn't that cannibalism? Asked Hiccup. It's delicious, said the dragon. Besides, you can't call an artist like myself a cannibal. He sounded a bit exasperated now. You are very rude for such a small person. What do you want, little supper? I have come, said Hiccup, to find out whether you come in peace or in war. Oh, peace, I think, said the dragon. I'm going to kill you, though, he added. All of us? Asked Hiccup. You first, said the dragon kindly, and then everybody else when I've had a little nap and got my appetite back. It takes a little while to wake up completely from a sleep coma. But it's also unfair, said Hiccup. Why do you get to eat everybody just because you're bigger than everybody else? It's the way of the world, said the dragon. Besides, you'll find that you come round to my point of view once you're inside me. That's the marvellous thing about digestion. But where are my manners? Let me introduce myself. I am the Green Death. What is your name, little supper? Hiccup Horrendous had it the third, said Hiccup. And the most extraordinary thing happened. I must just have a drink of water. As Hiccup said his name, the Green Death trembled, as if a sudden wind had made him shiver. Neither the Green Death nor Hiccup noticed. Said the Green Death. I'm sure I've heard that name somewhere before, but it's rather a mouthful, so I shall just call you Little Supper. Now, Little Supper, before I eat you, tell me your problem. My problem? Asked Hiccup. That's right, said the dragon. Your why can't I be more like my father problem. Your hard to be a hero problem. Your snot-light would make a better chief than me problem. I have helped the problems of many a supper. Somehow meeting a really big problem like myself seems to put everything in proportion. Let me get this straight, said Hiccup. You know all about my father and me not being a hero and everything. I can see things like that, said the Green Death modestly. And you want me to tell you my problems and then you're going to eat me? We're back at the beginning again, sighed the Green Death. We're all going to be eaten sometime. You can win yourself some extra time, though, if you're a smart little crabstick. A few scraps from the burning. The Green Death yawned. I'm suddenly rather tired, he said. You are a clever little crabstick. You've kept me talking for ages. And the dragon yawned again. I'm too tired to eat you right now. You'll have to come back in a couple of hours, and I'll tell you how to deal with your problem then. I have a feeling I can help you. And the terrible monster really did fall asleep this time, and snored most heavily. His great claws relaxed and fell open, and the remaining sheep, their woolly sides trembling with terror, scrambled over the tops of the terrible talons and bolted up the cliff path. Hiccup stood watching the dragon thoughtfully for a second. Then he trudged slowly back through the heather towards the village. Everybody cheered when he walked through the gates. He was carried shoulder high and set down in front of his father. Well, son, said Stoic, does the beast come in peace or in war? He says he comes in peace, said Hiccup. There were huge hurrahs and heavy stampings of feet. Hiccup held up his hand for silence. He's still going to kill us, though. And there's the picture. Look at all the sheep escaping after he released his talons. Okay, chapter 13. When yelling doesn't work. The dragon slept on as the Council of War argued about what to do next. I'm going to write a strongly worded letter to Professor Yobbish, said Stoic the Vast. This book needs a lot more words to tell you what to do if yelling doesn't work. Which shows how cross Stoic was. He never wrote a letter if he could help it. Stoic, in fact, was really rattled for the first time in his life. This is what comes of not following the law, he thought to himself. If I had banished the boys last night, I should have done, they would not be here to die with the rest of us. I should have put my trust in Thor. Mogadon the Meathead had not yet realised the gravity of the situation. He thought it was a question of constructing some sort of megaphone machine to make the yell sound bigger. A gigantic dragon just needs a gigantic yell, he said. We already tried that, oh Plankton Brain, said Stoic. Who are you calling Plankton Brain? Demanded Mogadon, and they went whisker to whisker like a couple of furious walruses. Hiccup sighed and walked out of the village. He had a feeling the grown-ups weren't going to come up with anything fiendishly clever. To Hiccup's surprise, he was followed not only by Fishlegs, but by all the novices, from both the Hooligan and the Meathead tribes. They stood around Hiccup in a semicircle. So, Hiccup, said Thuggery the Meathead, what are we going to do now, then? What do you mean by asking Hiccup? Demanded Snot-Light crossly. You're not going to ask the useless, that's what he calls Hiccup, to get us out of this mess, are you? He just single-handedly got us all to fail the final initiation test. We were about to be banished and eaten by cannibals, all because of him. He can't even control a dragon the size of an earwig. Can you talk to dragons then, Snotface? Asked Fishlegs. I am pleased to say I cannot, said Snot-Light with dignity. Well, shut up then, said Fishlegs. Snot-Light got hold of Fishlegs by the arm and started twisting. Nobody but nobody tells Snotface Snot-Light to shut up, hissed Snot-Light. Snot-Light. I do, said Thuggery the Meathead. He grabbed Snot-Light by the shirt and lifted him clear off the ground. Your dragon just got us failed just as much as his. I didn't notice anybody's dragon sitting up and begging like a good boy in the middle of the dragon fight. You shut up or I will tear you limb from limb and feed you to the gulls, you winkle-hearted, seaweed-brain, limpet-eating pig. And there, look, there's, gosh, Thuggery the Meathead. Look, grasping Snotlight. Oh, you shut up or I will tear you from limb to limb and feed you to the gulls, you winkle-hearted, sea-brain, limpet-eating pig. Not very nice, though, is it? Snotlight looked into Thuggery's stern little eyes. Snotlight, shut up. Thuggery dropped him and wiped his hands disdainfully on his tunic. Anyway, said Thuggery, my father was on that stupid council of elders too. I'm with Hiccup. What kind of father puts his stupid laws before the life of his son? And what kind of stupid test was that anyway? If we save all those stupid people from a real dragon like this one, maybe they'll let us into their stupid tribe after all. Well, 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 thought Hiccup. This is a turn up for the books. Maybe that dragon was right and he's going to help me with my it's hard to be a hero problem. Before he eats me, of course. One solo meeting with the Green Death, and here were 19 young barbarians, most of them much bigger and tougher and rougher than Hiccup, looking at Hiccup expectantly to tell them what to do. Hiccup stood on tiptoe and tried to look like a hero. Okay, said Hiccup, I need some time to think. Give the boy some room here, yelled Thuggery, pushing all the others back. He swept off a rock for Hiccup to sit on. You just do all the thinking you need, boyo, said Thuggery. This is a situation that needs a lot of thought, and I have a feeling you're the only one here who can do it. Anybody who can have a 20-minute conversation with a winged shark the size of a planet and come out of it alive is a better thinker than I am. Hiccup found himself warming to Thuggery the meathead. Quiet, yelled Thuggery. Hiccup is thinking. Hiccup thought and thought. After about half an hour, Thuggery said, whatever you're thinking about to get rid of that monster, better work for both of them. There's another dragon? Asked Hiccup. Thuggery nodded. I went up to the highest point and spotted him while you were having your chat with the big green one. Okay, said Hiccup. That's good news, actually. Let's check out the new horror. The trail up to the highest point was littered with scallop shells and dolphins' bones thrown up by the gigantic storm. Along the way, they even passed the wreck of one of Stoit's favourite ships, the Pure Adventure, lost at sea 7 years before, and now perched crazily on a rock 3/4 of the way up the biggest hill on Burke. Once you were right at the top, it was possible to see most of Burke's coastline, and the sea encircling you on all sides. Right at the other end of the island, a dragon entirely filled up Unlandable Cove and spilled over the sides. He was resting his vast, wicked chin on the cliff as a pillow. Great plumes of violet smoke were belching out of his snoring nostrils. He was another Sea Dragonus Giganticus Maximus, this time a glorious deep purple in colour, and if anything slightly larger than the one at Long Beach. The purple death, I presume, whispered Hiccup shakily. This is just what we needed. Are you sure there aren't any more? Thuggery laughed slightly hysterically. I think it's just the 2 nightmare-killing machines. 2 not enough for you? Back at the highest point, Hiccup outlined his plan of action. Oh, what's that sound like, Oscar? It was fiendishly clever, if a bit desperate. We aren't big enough to fight these dragons, said Hiccup, but they can fight each other. We have to get them really angry at one another. We hooligans will concentrate on the green death, and you meatheads will deal with the purple death. The one thing we will need is our own dragons, who seem to have disappeared, said Hiccup, so we'd better start calling for them. They started calling for their dragons, as loudly as they dared, and then louder still as there was no response. The 20 dragons that belonged to the novices were not in fact very far away at all. They had made up after the dragon fight and were now hiding in a piece of boggy bracken about 100 yards or so away from where the boys were standing on the highest point. They were crouching like giant cats in the ferns, wicked eyes gleaming. They were now so exactly the shade of a clump of bracken that they seemed to have melted entirely into the bog. If you had been a rabbit or a deer, you would not have noticed them until you felt the talons on your back and the hot fire on your neck. My goodness. So I think, Oscar, we better call it a day there, and we're going to find out next time what happens with the green death and the purple death, and whether they, I don't know, do they eat each other up? Ooh, that sounds actually horrible, doesn't it? Anyway, it's a great story. I hope you enjoy it, and we'll read you more next time. So lots of love from me, Grandpa, and from Granny and Auntie Anna, and from Moosey. to you and Mummy and Daddy and little Annabelle. Bye for now, Oscar. Bye.